Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Okay, before I get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about today, I need to pass on a piece of information that's going to save you a few dollars. Are you interested? Okay. We have at Lifestyles Unlimited an annual event that we do. It's called we call it Expo. And it's an opportunity for Lifestyles Unlimited members from all over the country to come together, to hang out with each other for a weekend, to learn new things or sharpen the saw, if you will, to network, to actually enjoy ourselves, to let our hair down and have a good time. Yeah, this is an event where, first of all, we put a fire hose on you when it comes to information. We pack the entire event full of information that you need to hear, and you get to choose what information you want to hear. Think about it. If you're a multifamily investor, you're probably not going to spend the day listening to all the information that's being presented to single-family investors, right? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you do both. Okay, well, then you just got to figure out what makes sense for you and roll with it, because there is no perfect solution to the puzzle. The only perfect solution to the puzzle is the solution that you put together and follow. Yeah. Okay, so let me take you back to February of last year when we had our last expo. We actually did it in Houston, Texas. We were at the George R. Brown Convention Center. There were, I think they capped our event at 5,000 people. I do recall talking with Maite. She's the lady that, she's like the chief of staff. Yeah. That's kind of the way I look at her. It's like she has a piece of everything that we do in Lifestyles, and she's also the continuity. She's the glue that keeps it all together. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So one of the things Maite is responsible for is creating this expo event. And I'll tell you, last year, it was awesome. And due to a scheduling conflict, get this, we were actually supposed to have our expo in April of last year. But because of a scheduling conflict and because the George R. Brown Convention Center kind of goofed up and they kind of overbooked their capacity, they gave us an option. If we were willing to shift to a different day, there was, some benefit. I don't even know what that is, and I don't really care. Here's the beautiful thing that came out of that. Because we shifted from April to February, we actually had our expo, because we all know what happened last March. Yeah, I'm not even going to say it because you know where I'm at. Okay, so this year, we've been planning to have this expo event. We have. We actually had it scheduled for March, and then it migrated to April, and then it migrated to, I think, June. And now it's locked in for September 3rd and 4th. And the location has changed. We're not going to be in Houston. We're going to be up in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, a place called Irving. So we're going to be in the Irving Convention Center. Now, here's the neat thing about the Irving Convention Center. Based on health and safety guidelines, that convention center has capped the number of people that can come into it. And it just so happens that number that they capped it at is our sweet spot. 5,000 people is our sweet spot. Yeah, because at that point, all the efficiencies that come from moving from small group dynamics into large group dynamics, they take hold. And when you get above 5,000 people, you actually have to start layering on a different level of services and support. So 5,000 is that sweet spot. Now, I got an email this morning that kind of just rattled my cage a little bit, because it's giving me data about the different type of passes that we offer at the expo. And we range from everything from just general admission. Just come check us out. Oh, by the way, if you're a Lifestyles Unlimited member, general admission is free. It's free. You just sign up and it's free. For the public, it's a $97 entry fee. Now, here's what else was in that email that I was looking at this morning. It said, hey, Al, we only have a limited number of slots left in all of our programs. As a matter of fact, the Masters Tour with the Legacy Pass is already sold out. The Masters Tour with the All Access Pass, that's sold out. The All Access Pass as its own element, that's sold out. Now, the Legacy Pass is still out there, and you can still get that. And we do have some space left in our general admission sector. But here's the neat thing about the email that I got. It said, Al, have your listeners go to wealthandpassiveincomeexpo.com. Now, I'm going to say that again because it's long. So it's wealthandpassiveincomeexpo.com. That's our URL that gets you directly to the registration page. Now, when you get there, you really can only pick one of the two that are remaining because three of the events are already gone. But pick one, select it, and what it's going to do is going to take you to a sign-up page. Now, you're going to see a price for whatever you chose. The general admission's $97. When you get to that sign-up page, the first thing I want you to do is go right to the place that says promo code. There's a little button that says apply, and I want you to type my first name in there, AL. Now, it has to be all capitals. Hit the apply button, and what's going to happen is we're going to take $97 off whichever package. So one becomes free, and the other one's discounted. Now, how's that for a deal? We come back, I got more for you.
Warning. Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. Remember yesterday I was going down memory lane. I took you to a period that occurred about 20 years ago. See, 20 years ago, my wife and I sold the very first house that we ever purchased together. Prior to that, we had been renters. We had rented everywhere we lived. That's just the way it goes. I mean, that's the way our life was. When my wife and I met, I was renting. She was renting. When we got married, we were renting. And it wasn't until we had an opportunity to go to Southern California, and the fact that the real estate markets in California were kind of suffering a little bit, we were able to acquire a brand new home. Now, Lewis Homes was the builder. I don't even know if Lewis Homes is still in business or if they've been bought out by somebody else, but they built a pretty good product. I mean, I was very happy with it. And I was very happy that I had the opportunity to raise my family in a great house, in a great neighborhood that was convenient for me to get to where I was working, and everything was fine and dandy until the Army said it was time for me to go again. And I sold my house to a young couple that took over ownership and occupancy, and I went about my merry way. Well, 20 years later, I got nostalgic, and I kind of looked on Zillow, because you can find just about anything you want on Zillow. I happened to look up the address, and boom, there's the house. And I thought, okay, here comes sleuth mode. I'm curious how many people have owned that property since I was the original owner. And when I looked it up, the short answer was 2 people. And they were the 2 people that were married at the time that I sold my house, because they bought the house from me. Now, one of the things I noticed through the tax records was that the woman came off the title. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, 50% of the ownership in that property that was hers was transferred to the husband. So the husband now owns 100% of the property. Don't know what happened, what caused that. Might have been a death, could have been a divorce. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. The point is this. That guy has lived in that house for the last 20 years. He's lived there for 20 years straight. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. And here's the other thing. I sold him that house for like $214,500. Zillow says, effective today, it's probably worth anywhere, well, they say the estimate is $608,700. And they give me a range of $572 to $645. Okay, so there's a pretty significant range. So the short piece of information that I want you to take away from this is that gentleman that bought my home lived there. He's enjoyed living there. As far as I know, he's enjoyed living there. He's been there for 20 years. He's been paying his mortgage. Yeah, there's no issues with this guy paying the mortgage. So why am I even talking about this? Why am I talking about this? Well, because this guy has something called dead equity in his house. Now, I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know what his bills are. I know he lives in Southern California, so I know his cost of living is higher than my cost of living out here in Texas. I know this for a fact because I've lived in both locations. So I really don't know much about this guy other than the fact that he's the guy that bought my house and he's got a ton of equity in this property. Now, there are no other loans that I can find that are secured against the property, and it appears that the original loan that he took out 20 years ago is still the loan in place. Yeah, he's been paying down that 30-year note over time. And at about the 20-year mark, he gets to the point where the majority, if not all, well, it's not all, but it's pretty close, the majority of his monthly payments are actually going towards principal reduction, which is literally increasing the equity in his house. Now, just for giggles and grins, I ran just a goofy little estimate because, again, I don't know this guy's personal situation, and it doesn't matter. But I also knew that interest rates back then, they were a lot higher than they are today. And I can look at what the tax rates are on that property. So I know what he's paying to the county that he's in. I also know what the costs of insurance are, and I can factor that in. So if I go back to what I believe was his original loan amount, which I believe he came in with 20% down, financed 80% of the purchase price, and assuming, I went with a 7% interest rate because I didn't know any better, to be honest with you, and it really doesn't matter because it is what it is. He's probably paying, my number is $1,982. Now, I know there's no homeowners association in that neighborhood or anything like that. So really, it's PITI and then whatever it costs him to maintain that house. By the way, we put in a really nice pool in that house, and I would venture to say that pool equipment that's more than 20 years old, maybe it needs to be replaced somewhere along the line or needs maintenance and stuff. So, those are probably his ongoing costs. But for giggles and grins, let's just say he's living comfortably. He's making a monthly payment of $2,000, well, $1,982. Let's call it $2,000 a month, paying his mortgage company. He's knowing that the majority of that is coming off of what he owes. Yeah, it's coming down. And I estimated he's got about $82,000 in a current mortgage balance. That's just running a schedule, an amortization schedule. That's where I got that from. So here's the neat thing. Every month, that loan balance is going down, the equity is going up, and this guy's probably sitting fat, dumb, and happy. And here's the problem. He has too much money tied up in that house, way too much money tied up in that house. He does. Heck, my number says he's got $526,800 in equity in that house. That's money sitting in there doing nothing. Now, there are people out there that will tell you that's the way to go. This guy is on the fast track. He's on the smart way to doing things. You buy a house, you live in it for 30 years, you make that monthly payment every month, and if you're smart, you put a little extra money towards it because you're trying to make that loan go away because you're living a minimalist mentality. You heard me correctly, Dave Ramsey, a minimalist mentality. And I knew a lot of people that were doing exactly that in Southern California, because you get into the mindset of, I have to build equity in my home because at a certain point, I might need that to live off of. See, I don't know what this guy's done for his own retirement. I don't know if he's stuffing money into a 401k. I don't know if he's gambling in the stock market on the sides. Heck, for all I know, maybe he does own real estate. But I'm thinking, if he owned real estate, there wouldn't be so much equity in this property. When we come back from the break, I'm going to break this down for you.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. All right. So I think I framed the picture pretty good. I mean, it took me a day and a half to get you here, but let's talk about this person's financial situation. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, this guy has no idea that I'm talking about him. No, I mean, be honest with you, until last weekend, I hadn't even thought about that house. I hadn't even thought about the people that bought the house from me because I never met them. I never did. Yeah, the only person I ever saw was my agent, who did a great job for me, helped me sell that house to this person, and this person lived in it for 20 years. So what would you do? What would you do if you were sitting in a house? Now, this one happens to be in Southern California, but this house could be anywhere you are at. Maybe you're in Houston. Maybe you're in Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Atlanta. Maybe you're up in the Great White North. I don't know. But maybe your situation is similar. Maybe you've been living the conventional wisdom, which is to build equity in your house and do everything in your power to pay off that note. Because the minimalist game plan is this. You're going to get to a place of retirement in the future. Right now, you're young and healthy, or semi-young and semi-healthy. Trust me, it all changes the farther down the road you get. You need to work diligently. Protect that equity in that property. Pay down that note. Continue to work. Because you're going to get to a date, maybe 30 years down the road, and all of a sudden, you're going to have a huge party. And that party will celebrate you making that final payment on a note that you took 30 years to pay off. 30 years you were diligent, you were on it, you didn't miss a payment. Remember 7 years ago when you thought maybe you weren't going to be able to make the mortgage yet, you found ways to make that payment and keep your credit history whole? For 30 years, you've knocked it out of the park. And now what do you have? You have a paid-off house that's at least 30 years old, that probably has some maintenance issues, and, it gets better. Just because you paid off the note doesn't mean the taxes went away. Yeah, no. Those taxes are still there. They're still in play. You still have to pay the tax man, because if you don't pay the tax man can come take your property. And you're going to have insurance costs. Believe it or not, your insurance costs go up over time. Yeah, because insurance rates are based on replacement values of the property. And over time, that house that you bought for $200,000, in this guy's case, 20 years ago, it's now worth $608,000. Do you think his insurance went up over time? I will tell you, it did. It absolutely did. And I know he has insurance on the property because he's got a mortgage on the property, and the mortgage provider mandates that you will maintain insurance on the property. And here's where it gets a little dicey for some people. Maybe you get to that 30-year mark where you pay off the property, and now all you're paying is property taxes. You got to pay those, or you might lose your property. Now, the insurance, that's kind of a big expense. Now, I had to have that insurance because my lender said I had to have it. Ooh, what if? What if I'm willing to take a risk? What if? I mean, come on, the property's over 30 years old. There's issues with the property. I don't know, man. Do I keep paying the insurance? And I will tell you this. There are people today that are in that exact situation that are trying to decide between making an insurance payment on a property that's much higher than when they originally bought the property or buying food. Yeah, because that's where the minimalist mindset will take you. It will take you to the place where you have to decide between the lesser of two evils. I firmly believe that. Here's the other thing. You'll have a ton of equity in that property. Okay, let's go back to this Southern California property. This guy is sitting on, in my estimation, $526,800 in equity in this property. Now, he's been making a mortgage payment all along. Now, the mortgage payment over time has gone up. Now, his property taxes, because the way they do property taxes in California, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like when you buy, they slam you with property taxes because all of a sudden now you're buying it at a new value. But, and I might be wrong on the laws because I haven't been in California for a while, but my understanding was this. When you bought that property and the property taxes went way up on you because now you're paying a higher price and they base those taxes off of that higher price. Yeah, there's assessments and things like that. There's, I don't know, is it Prop 39? Come on, all you California guys out there know this stuff. There's something out there, and I don't know if that's still in existence. It may be dead for all I know. But it basically said your property taxes would remain relatively fixed. Because if your property taxes went up commensurate with what property values tend to do in California, you get priced right out of the market. Your taxes would take food off your table. It would. Now, the insurance costs do that. Yeah, because the cost to replace that property today is completely different than it was 20 years ago because of something called inflation. And you've heard all about inflation all of a sudden in the news. So I've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to go there. So I estimate this guy is paying $1,982 a month to live in that house and enjoy that house, and he's been doing it for 20 years. 14 years ago, his wife was taken off the note, or off the property title. For what reason, I do not know. I actually called one of my tax advisor guys, and I said, hey, man, let me run this by you, because I wasn't sure about this on yesterday's show. Married couple buys a house, live in the house for at least 2 years so they can qualify to not have to pay the capital gains taxes if they sell the property after 2 years. Somebody dies, one of the two dies. What happens? And here's what he told me. Basically, the IRS kind of gives you a 2-year lock. In other words, you can get that full $500,000 worth of avoidance against any capital gains that you would pay when you're married if a spouse dies for the following 2 years. But you got to sell that property within 2 years. After that 2-year mark, it's all over. It reverts back to, okay, there's a single guy owning this house, so he only gets to take off $250,000 worth of taxes. So you're probably wondering where I'm going. Well, here's where I'm going. What I'm going to convince you of in the next segment is that this gentleman is playing a fool's game. He is doing something that he thinks is right, but ultimately it's not as effective as it could be. You see, he could sell that house. He could take about $485,000 out of it. I estimate he's probably going to pay about $47,000 in capital gains taxes. That's going to drop him down to right around $400,000. Oh, he's going to have to find another place to live. But there's actually a much better option. Stick around and I'll share it with you.
back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey man, if I were in that dude's place, I wouldn't sell my house. I mean, that's stupid. Why would you sell your house? And you know what? I'm fully agreeing with you. I absolutely agree with you 100%. Because let's break it down. If he sold his house, I think he would net maybe about $485,000 out of the sale of his property. Now, he's going to get caught up in some of that capital gain stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what this guy's tax situation is. I really have no clue. For all I know, maybe he's one of those people that's in that 0% capital gains range. That actually exists out there, I believe. Most of us are in the 15 to 20, and then depending on what the current president does, it could be worse. So for planning purposes, I always default to the worst case scenario. He's going to write Uncle Sugar a check for almost $47,000. That would be the capital gains that would be due on about $235,000 worth of gains. See, the first $250,000, he's okay. He's totally okay. But according to my tax guy, when the wife died or the wife divorced, or actually I don't think divorce comes into the play. So let me just take that off the table, because I didn't talk about divorce with my tax guy. I talked about death. And he said, yeah, basically the way the IRS does it, they give you 2 years. You get 2 years. If you go 2 years and a day, sorry, you don't get the benefit of the capital gains reduction. You don't. It goes away, which I think is kind of stupid, but that's the way the law is. I think, and this is probably what you're thinking too, I think the best way for this guy to go is for him to do a cash out refinance on that property. Yeah, I think what he should do is he should just put a brand new first mortgage on that property, eliminate that existing mortgage, and right there, when I said that, you the hair on the back of your neck stuck up, right? Because all of a sudden you realized that if we replace that existing mortgage with a new mortgage, it's a brand new amortization schedule, which means every dollar that he pays in is not necessarily going to be going to reduce his principal. Okay, I need you to break that mindset, because it's that stinking thinking that's going to keep you from getting to the end result that I'm about ready to share with you. And I don't mean that mean. And if that sounded offensive, I apologize. I don't mean to offend anybody. But sometimes there are things that you need to hear that don't strike you so well, and you might be standoffish about it because you don't know anything different. That doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you dumb. It doesn't make you any of that stuff. It just makes you who you are. And I am here to help you understand that there's a completely different scenario here. So let me go through my logic for you. Cool? All right, let's do it. So he needs to take out a brand new note. Most lenders, here's the reason why. He's got like maybe $82,000 on his existing note. No lender out there wants to be in a second mortgage position with a huge cash out refinance number on the back end. It's too risky for him. Yeah, it's too risky, because if for some reason the property has to go to foreclosure, the notes are treated in the order of importance, meaning that $82,000 first note, it gets dealt with first before whatever that second lender deals with. That second lender would rather scoop that money into the new loan because it puts them in a much better position. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And if they're going to loan you like, $405,000, maybe you ought to consider that. So I think you should take out a new 80% loan. Yeah, I do. And I think the cash out on that is going to be pretty significant, because what he's going to have an opportunity to do is to tap into all of that equity in that property. It's a very, very cool thing. So what does that mean? I mean, how much can he pull out? Well, my rough numbers are actually a little bit off because I just noticed there was a math error. This is actually going to be better than I originally thought. Because if you look at a property that has a current value of $608,700, that's what Zillow estimates the property is worth, and I'm okay with that. When you take 80% of that money, 80% of that money, that's a significant dollar amount. Now, there will be some costs associated with taking that money out. Here's where I'm leaning towards. He could sell the property. I know we said that's a bad idea, but let me just kind of throw the numbers at you and see how they sit with you. He could sell the property and have about $484,000 after taxes. He'd have about $437,000. Okay. Or you just refinance. Yeah, put a new note on the property. It's totally fine. Yeah, any interest he pays, it can be potentially a write-off in his personal income taxes. So, I mean, there's a little bit of benefit there. What's going to happen when he closes escrow on that refinance? He's going to get a check for about $405,000. Yeah, $405,000. Now, some people think, wow, that's crazy money. You should go buy a boat and jet skis and buy a brand new car and get an RV. And no, that is not what you do with the $405,000. That's what people that get themselves into financial problems do. Yeah. I mean, think about it. This guy, he's been riding that money for 20 years. So I think in the back of his mind, he knows that money's there. He knows that wealth is there. He just doesn't know what to do with it. Well, good thing I came along, huh? Let me give you the last piece of bad news about him refinancing this property. His mortgage payment is going to go up, based on my estimations, it's going to go up about $1,131. Yes, he's going to go from 1982. Well, I don't mean the year 1982. That's what I estimate his current mortgage payment to be based on a 7% note that he took out 20 years ago. And because he's going to refinance, and the interest rates are smoking low. I just went on the internet and I just looked at what can I buy money for in the California market to do a 80% refinance. And I found rates as low as 2.65%. And that's kind of what I rolled with. So first of all, his taxes aren't going to change because he refinances. His insurance isn't going to change because he refinances. Okay, what changes is his principal and interest payments. And those are going to go up about $1,131. And some people will think, well, how's he going to live? How's he going to live? Well, this is how he's going to live. He's going to live very, very well, because what he's going to do over the next 2 years, I'm going to give him 2 years. Actually, he can get this done in 1, but I'm going to say 2 years because I'm always conservative on my projections. I am very conservative on my projections. As an example, Moon, one of the realtors I've got a relationship with, sent me a property last night. This is a property in Texas City outside of Houston. Pretty cool property. You could buy it for $90,000. Has an after repair value of $200,000. That means when it's all fixed up, that's what that property is worth. So you can buy it for 45 cents on the dollar. Now, you're going to have to drop a lot of money into this thing. This thing is kind of a train wreck. It is kind of a train wreck. You're going to need about, my estimates are $84,000 more for closing costs and the rehab. This is a pretty heavy lift. But the reason you want to do this kind of deal is twofold. Number one, you can get into this deal for under $28,000 cash out of pocket. And you're thinking, wait a minute, now you just told me it was like, what, $84,000 for all those costs? Yeah, but when you buy property the way we show you how to buy property, you're only going to be out $28,000. You're also going to capture equity in this property of over $26,000, meaning you almost have 100% equity capture in the property, meaning the property might be worth $200,000 when it's all said and done, but you're only going to be into that property for about $173,000 and change. That's right. That equity is something that you buy in the property. It is a good thing. Let me fast forward real quick. This property could produce $346 a month in cash flow. Now, $346 on one property is not going to solve this guy's problem with an increase in his mortgage payment. But when he gets to 4 properties, he'll be making more money. It gets even better. With the amount of money he has, if just based on this particular model, he could buy 14 of these properties. 14 of these properties, providing him $58,000 of cash flow. Might be more money than he makes right now in his JOB. certainly going to cover that mortgage expense. Oh, and I haven't even gotten to the fact that once he gets all that money invested and he holds for 5 years, I'm looking at, wow, an adjusted gain of over $1 million. Tomorrow's show, I'll tell you what that means. Talk to you then.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.